everybody. Good evening, everybody, to this fantastic webinar on how can AI help in your business. Now, it's a hot topic. It's a hot topic everywhere. And we will keep this very conversational. We'll keep this very informal. And let me just quickly introduce the people here. The three of us. My name is Anjan Lahiri, and I have been in this business for a while, in the IT business for a while. But before I come to me, let me just go to Balaji and Megha here, my co-hosts. Absolute pleasure to have all of them. So Balaji and I have been working together for many years, actually across 3 decades. Balaji, over to you for a quick introduction relevant to what we are talking today. Over to you, Balaji.
Good evening, everybody. So nice to be with all of you, and thank you for making time to join us here. Extremely interesting topic. Looking forward to a very engaging conversation. My responsibility here is making sure we deliver on the promises we make to our customers and what the possibilities we can create for them for their business using AI. And that's what I am working along with our teams on.
And Balaji has been, whenever you talk of AI, whenever you talk of data, you talk of enterprise systems. He has worked across multiple organizations over the years, building massive systems, extremely complex stuff. Very relevant to some of the discussion that we are having today. Let me go over to Megha. Megha, why are you here?
Hello, everyone. Thanks for making time for today. And I'm very excited about talking on this topic, obviously a hot topic, as Anjan said. I lead what we call business solutions at Navikins, and that is part of really deeply understanding customer context, working with customers to identify what can they do in their business with AI technologies, using a business mindset and business context in each of the teams that we work with. So really excited to share some of the things that we've been seeing and talking to customers around today.
There is a lot that is to be done on AI, but what should we do is the question. And that is what we try to unpack. Let me go straight into the topic of today, which is AI. Data. What can AI do for our business? So before that, we'll keep it conversational, as I said. Please feel free, all the participants. We've gotten phenomenal response, and we've gotten a lot of questions prior to the session as we start today, and we will pick those up. But also the chat is enabled. That's why I said we are doing it informally. It's almost like a meeting. So please feel free to chat online. Please feel free to post your questions on chat, and we will take a look at it. So just a quick thing, Megha and Balaji, for the purposes of today's meeting, do we need to define what is AI? Is AI this and not that? What is the difference between AI, RPA? What is the difference between data, machine learning, AI? Is large language model AI? Is something else AI? For the purposes of figuring out what AI can do for our business, how important is it to be accurate about how we define what is AI? Balaji.
Very relevant question, because while you mentioned it's a hot topic, you speak and interact with a lot of people on this topic, you begin to realize that every person has a view, and rightfully so. But you also realize that these views have emerged from how they have been touched by AI and how they have felt it. Okay, so various perspectives, and it's right in many ways. But what I have felt is a definition which has helped me is humans have been building tools all their lives to help them with their work, right? We will continue to do that. We will invent tools. If that tool has a capability to be able to learn, remember it, and be able to apply what it has learned, I think we can consider that tool to be intelligent. So that's the definition which I have followed to say that, look, if this piece of tool is able to learn from what it's doing, it's able to remember what it did last time, and it's able to go back and apply it the next time when it finds a similar situation. Happy to call it artificial intelligence.
So we don't need to really say that, no, this is not artificial intelligence. Let's figure out what is a tool. Megha?
Yeah, I agree with that, right? I mean, we talk to, as I said, business users all the time. And in any company that I've spoken to, nobody's actually quibbled about, yeah, we don't need this solution because it's not AI, right? I mean, people want business solutions. They want to increase revenue, reduce cost, improve efficiency. And in most cases, people are quite ambivalent about how it gets done in the piping of it, right? I think the way I think about it, very similar to Balaji, is, typically, if you can't define the rules of the decision making process, right? If you can't in your mind say, if this then that, right, that's how this will progress in a predictable way, then typically it tends to be more of an AI led solution.
So,
If
so
you
we don't need
can
to
in your
really
mind,
worry.
yeah.
So, Megha, I'm saying we don't really need to really worry about, hey, are
No, we
we
don't.
talking about machine learning? So let's just talk about how so now tell me this. Why now? So why now suddenly all grandfathers and grandmothers are talking about AI? Huh? Now they were not doing that 6 months back. So did something, two questions. Why are grandmothers and grandfathers talking about it only in the last 6 months? But we know in the industry that the last 2-3 years has been very seminal in this space. So what changed? What has changed in the last 2-3 years? Last 6 months, we know ChatGPT is what it all brought. So what happened? Balaji.
Okay. I personally don't believe it suddenly dawned upon us yesterday. Okay. I think it has been creeping upon us for quite some time now. Okay. I think the combination of three things, maybe. One is the richness of the collection of various tools, maybe the ease of access to those tools, and perhaps the affordability collectively has helped us to be able to bring it into our living conscious. So it has kind of occupied our highest level of conscious now, simply because it's touching every aspect of our life. And I think that's what has made this front page news as opposed to being in the subsheets or something like that. That's my view on this.
My view, and Megha would love to, I think there are two things that have changed. Two things that have changed, and it has been creeping on us for a while. And the two things that have changed is our ability to process enormous amounts of data in real time, and our ability to store enormous amounts of data. Now, both these things existed, and all of us have been in the industry for a while. You remember that 20 years back, when we rolled out a new system, we used to talk about what time of the night will that get processed, and you had to ask for time from the computer for that time. And nowadays, all that has gone away. So if I can process all the information across the world in real time, that ability has happened only in the last 3, 4, 5 years. That's one. The other one, I think, is the big one. It was only 8 years back. It was only 8 years back. Many of us use Google Photos. Many of us use Apple Photos. I think all of us use either Google Photos or Apple Photos. 8 years back was the first time that a cat and a dog picture could be differentiated by a machine with 100% accuracy. It's only 8 years back. And hence now today, all of us, we get suggestions of photographs, etc. It picks up our photographs from our day to day to our time when we were young. All of that is 8 years back, simply because of the mathematics existed. Mathematics existed. The ability of the computer to process that mathematics in real time, did not. Megha, overall, sounds like...
I agree with all of that, right? I mean, obviously, technology has gone through a series of changes that have enabled this moment. But I also think, I mean, I remember there's an interesting video about a music festival, and there's a guy who starts doing this weird dance in the festival, and he's all by himself, and he dances for like 10 minutes before even the first follower joins him. And then these two guys dance for another 10 minutes alone, right? And it's like this really weird, awkward dance, but they're doing this thing. And it seems to be getting a lot of attention. People are watching. And then suddenly there's a moment where like 10 people decide to join. And then once you have that 15 people sort of cohort, suddenly there's hundreds of people dancing all at the same time, right? And this is a little bit of what's happening. It's happened before as well. All hype cycles sort of go this way. You go through a long period where there's like 3, 5, 10 people who do the initial sort of passionate introduction of that technology, and then there's a sudden moment where everybody says like, yeah, I want to be on that bandwagon. And I think that's happening now. A lot of our conversations now, we're talking to CIOs. Earlier it was the CIOs being passionate and saying, this is something I believe will become vision and something for the future. Now CIOs are coming and saying the board is really asking me questions about how can, what are you doing on AI? And I need to respond in a coherent way, and we're helping them craft that response, right? So,
So let's come
a lot of
to,
it is changed.
is it really happening? I think, please feel free to post any questions on chat. We will do that.
Anjan, maybe just to illustrate that example of how it has been creeping upon us, I just want to share one example, a great example that I heard from one of the videos the other day. Somebody was drawing analogy to the whole concept of autonomous cars, okay? All of us suddenly woke up to a fact saying that, hey, look, here is a car which can drive by itself. Wow, the world has changed. But then he said that, look, what none of us realized is the amount of automation which has been happening and the intelligence which is coming into a car over these years. There has been the shift from manual gears into automatic. It has had the rain sensors, the light sensors, the ability to be able to do the anti-lock braking. So many features have been automatically coming into the car, but none of us realized. Just when it flipped over and it became an autonomous car, everybody said, wow, the world has changed. So I think it's exactly the same kind of thing we are seeing in the enterprise space, that technology has kind of suddenly woken up.
It's sort of happening. So let's get to a little bit of the heart of the thing is, all of us, Balaji, you, Megha, myself, are meeting lots and lots of people. What are we hearing within the enterprise? And again, the questions that we got a lot of questions, thank you so much for that. And basically, how are people using it? What are we hearing people using it? So before we go there, and I'll get to the enterprise side, let's go to, I'll take up the specific example of generative AI and large language model, because that's sort of really, what are some of the use cases that we are seeing people use large language models in, which couldn't have been possible 1 year back? Any examples that we can share?
Oh, yes. Quite a few. In fact, very, very interesting ones, which almost throws up saying that did we even think it was possible? Okay. But I think fundamentally, what one has to realize is possibly for the first time, all along, what we used to do is we used to learn how to interact with a computer. So we had to either learn a code, or we had to learn a language, or the instruction commands and all that. It would give out some information. We had to learn how to use that information. Simple thing like a Google search. I search for something, it used to give me a bunch of links. I had to know which link to get into, pull out what I want before I can make use of it. For the first time, I think the computer has learned how to respond to us in the way that two human beings interact with each other, just as we have a conversation. And I think that has really flipped the whole thing over to saying that, look, wow, this is really the power of what can happen. And I think that goes back to the kind of technologies which I've gotten, what learning is all about, the large language models, what it can generate. That's been my take on that. And we are seeing the applications of it. But happy to hear from Megha what she's been seeing.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of sort of hype around this, right? And so people tend to come in with the assumption that it has to be something really scientific, and a lot of artificial intelligence, statistical modeling will be involved, which is all true in some sense. But what has really happened is that there's a lot of foundational models that have been built, and a set of foundational tools that have been built. Of course, that involved a lot of the high-end mathematics, statistics, and all of it to get there, right? But now that we're there, the application side of it is actually, as Balaji said, a lot easier in some sense, right? You can do stuff using these building blocks without really having to get into the deep science areas. And that's what we're realizing, right? As we talk to customers, for example, one of the interesting pieces of work we've done is we're working with a healthcare company, and they needed, they obviously, as any other sort of service oriented organization, they were going through a huge amount of training and attrition challenges, right? Lot of very high attrition at the sort of front office areas, and obviously these guys have to be trained. It's a regulated area, it's highly complex, and so they were spending very large amounts of money just hiring and retraining people as they left and transitioned. And so we've built a very simple chatbot that uses sort of OpenAI at the base, but really then absorbs also all of the training manuals that were already there in the company. Of course, those had to be updated. The data was a little bit, somewhere here, there. But essentially what has been enabled is that now training times can be reduced. People can give more accurate answers on day one. And so the quality of response has gone up, and it's simple, right? It's not like we did some really deep science stuff. We used the foundational models that were there, we applied them in an intelligent way, and we embedded it into the existing set of softwares that the company already used. And so it was also not a new software development in that sense, right? So very simple stuff, but you can actually create very, very powerful business impact using some of these building blocks that are already available. And that's
So
the great thing about
customer
AI.
service, Megha, in customer service, the use of large language model and OpenAI in terms of improving the customer service seems like a no-brainer. And wherever we are talking, it's being done. It's technically fairly simple to do it. The complexity happens in the base data. And the other thing that I think we are hearing customers is that, there are some best practices for organizations. Of course, we have heard of security, we've heard of all of that. And we will not pick questions which are above our pay grade, shall I say. I'll not get into AI is, destroying humanity, et cetera, et cetera. Let's leave that. There are lots of many more intelligent people working on that. Let's talk about what we are hearing from customers. So in terms of customer service, one of the best practices that seems to be emerging is that across enterprises is that focus on your own data. Forget about data that is all across. Of course, you can use weather data and stuff like that. But in terms of inside the enterprise, use your own data that you already own and you have control over, and then use that to improve the efficiency of your own customer service. Are we seeing that, Megha?
Yeah, and that's often the preferred option, because obviously there's a lot of question around, where is the data coming from? Can we trace it? Can we try to sort of make sure that it's not picking up a biased data set? People are much more comfortable with a known devil, right? They want to work with their own data rather than. So there is a lot of lateral learning that happens. So we use sort of the deeper models, but we use them in a way that they apply. The recommendations come only from sort of the set of data that we know it has, the company has built itself. And so I think that's almost a preferred option. People are a little bit still uncomfortable picking up this vast unknown internet data for recommendations, right? They might pick it up for the language skills. And so that's where the LLM sort of modeling comes in. But then beyond that, to actually craft the recommendation or to craft the decision making, they want to be able to define which data was used to be able to do that. And that's, we're helping with that, right? So there's many ways that can be done, and we're absolutely working.
We are doing that. There are lots of questions that we've gotten on how can AI help in sales operations, relationship management, sales and marketing, etc. I think the strategy and growth, I think we can straight away say that the lowest hanging fruit, customer service, use of large language model, internal data, the chatbot everybody has had, but that's really improving, dramatically. Balaji, we are seeing that sort of like a base implementation everywhere. Let's pick up some of the other areas that people are using AI and data. I'm going to pick up one question that has come, and I'm going to spend a little bit of time on that, because I feel that goes to the heart of what organizations are doing, should do, could do with AI and data. There's a question which says, and I'll say it slowly so that the question, quote unquote, is, we are in anomaly detection. Wish to hear if we have any topics covering this area. I'll repeat the question. We are in anomaly detection, wish to hear if we have any topics covering this area. Let me give a little bit of commentary, on this question, and would love to get your, response. And people on chat, please feel free to respond with your thoughts on the conversation for the benefit of everybody. If you want to ask a question directly to me, please send it just to me. My name is Anjan Lahiri. You can see it there. So please participate in the conversation. So we are in anomaly detection. Wish to hear if we have any topics covering this area. I think this question can really be the fulcrum of unpacking a lot of stuff. I'm going to break it up in two. We are in anomaly detection, full stop. Wish to hear if there is anything. So there are lots and lots of use cases for every single area. And I think all the hyperscalers, AWS and others have come up with fantastic use cases across. But the issue is what is applicable to you. And what we need to do is when we say that we are in anomaly detection, we need to figure out how you detect that anomaly today. Because previously, what a human being could do, we could not reliably, sort of computerize. But today, we just need to ask a person. There's a particular case where there is a business process, which is creating a lot of junk data, which has to be cleaned up. And there is a team that actually cleans up that junk data. It's junk customer data. I shouldn't say junk customer data. It's a duplicate customer data that's happening almost on a daily basis. And there is a team that does that. And that is a business team that does that. And today with AI, suddenly that business team can be automated. Why? By asking the business team, how do they do it? And typically the answer will be, no, it's very complex. There are lots of rules and we have judgment that is applied. As soon as we hear the word judgment, bells can go up saying, hey, maybe AI can come in. So we are in anomaly detection. If we can really get into the business side and ask, hey, you're solving that anomaly today in some way, in a non-technical way, what is that? Megha, did I make any sense?
Yeah, I mean, anomaly detection is one of the primary use cases of artificial intelligence, right? Because it is a multi-factor problem. Typically, you want to, if it is just an anomaly across one single factor of data or two factors, typically the old statistical models could have handled it. As soon as it becomes 3, 4, 5 factor analysis, statistical models tend to start failing. That's where you get into the more of the artificial intelligence, deep learning area. And it becomes, AI becomes obviously the candidate to see what can be done. Now, there's a lot of sort of slip between the cup and the lip there, because two things happen, right? Anomaly detection, typically you will do it over a period of time, typically, or over a latitudinal breadth of data, right? So latitudinal breadth of data, typically you will have data modeling challenges, because in real world, data model will vary over geographies, over business areas, definitions will change. So are you using the same level of data definition across a large area of business, right? And there are some industries, highly regulated, banking, for example, where that is less of a challenge. And other industries, we've seen this in pharma a lot, where this becomes an enormous challenge, because data tends to be siloed. It tends to be very, very variable over geography and over time, because data evolves. Even the regulated data models, regulators will ask for new data models. The definitions will change over time. And so just getting the data right to be able to do anomaly detection is in itself an artificial intelligence problem, because you have to then apply AI tools to harmonize the data across both time, geography, or even other areas, right? And then only you can actually apply the tools that do pattern recognition, anomaly detection, etc. So it's almost a multi-step AI problem that you have to solve.
So Balaji, as soon as we try to do that, suddenly we get into almost intractable enterprise architecture issues. And are we seeing that? I mean, that's not really an AI issue, but suddenly AI is bringing that up to a real problem area. What are we seeing?
It's really about what are the different things we would like to integrate together? Okay, let me illustrate that through an example, just for the sake of being able to contextualize what anomaly is and where does it come into play. So yesterday, thanks to WhatsApp these days, there was a video of there's a police car standing in a junction. It has a camera attached to it and it's scanning. Okay, so this continues to scan as people are driving through, and it's able to figure out what is the registration number in the number plate. It's able to automatically figure out that number, go back and check the records, whether it's a authorized vehicle, unauthorized, is there any pending fines? Or if there is a violation, it immediately sends out a challan. Okay, it's able to do all of these things, and they have integrated this as part of a smart city project. Okay, so it's a choice that one makes, saying that what is the level of integration they would like to apply, and ultimately, can I make my quality of living, my safety of living better? With that objective, when you start peeling back the different things, yes, it is a fairly complex thing, but it gives you a clear picture of what are the different things that needs to come together to be able to make a difference in the life of an individual. So I will continue to always look at it from the perspective of, if you have identified an outcome and you're building together a lot of things to make that difference, AI just becomes an enabler to be able to make it that much more easier and that much more well integrated. So that's how I see it.
So with that, should we just, we will come back to the uses of AI in enterprises, but should we just pick that up? We are talking about some fundamental ways in which human intuition and human judgment can be supplanted by AI implementations, approximately. Should we just pick up, and I don't want to go very deeply into it, the issue of job losses. Right? So there's a huge issue of saying that, in fact, there is an article which says 400 million jobs will be lost. Now, what's our view on that? Megha, what's your personal view on that?
So, there is, in any change scenario, there's always going to be optimists and pessimists, right? I am by nature an optimist person. So obviously that colors my perspective. But this is an issue, right? I mean, every technology change, in fact, during the cycle of that change, there's obviously two kinds of things that happen. One is there are periods where productivity goes up and therefore jobs become lower because people are yet to gain the benefits of that productivity increase. And so there is going to be, I believe, a period of job loss, obviously. And then there is going to be a period of job recovery because that improved productivity will lead to better incomes. Those incomes will lead to better spending from those categories of people who have done well. And then the people who have lost jobs will find new jobs because of that better spending, right? So there will be a cycle. In fact, I was looking at a World Bank report recently on this topic. It was about how technology change, how productivity has improved, or the change in productivity over the last 2 or 3 decades. I don't know if I can share my screen. I'll just quickly bring it up. Yeah, I don't know if people can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
So the interesting one is this table. I mean, I won't go into the whole thing, but this is the scaled impulse response of employment to a technology shock. And if you look at advanced versus emerging market and developing economies, you'll see that in the first year, there is an enormous shock, and it's even higher in advanced economies versus emerging market, because obviously technology tends to hit advanced economies first, and then it recovers over a 10-year period so that the actual employment actually goes up marginally in the advanced economies, and it kind of neutralizes in the emerging market economies, right? And this has happened, even in this World Bank report that I'm referencing, which, by the way, I can tell you the name, productivity effects of technology shocks, right? Global productivity report. That is what it is.
So let me pick up a quote here. Let me pick up a quote here, Megha. So Sam Altman. Now, suddenly everybody knows who Sam Altman is. So just as we knew.
Elon Musk before that, right? Yeah.
Elon Musk before that. And I was thinking of the Netscape and Mark Anderson, right? Sam Altman said that AI will not replace humans, but humans using AI will replace humans. That has become a very famous quote, right?
Yeah. And I believe that's true in the long term, for sure. I think in the short term, there will be pain because it will genuinely replace humans of certain kinds of jobs and certain kinds of skill levels. And those people will have to go through a difficult period of retraining and reassessment and finding new jobs, right? That is going to be of 3, 4, 5, I don't know how long, but some period of time where there will be pain. And I think it's important to be respectful of that economic reality. Governments obviously have to do something about that. And I believe that's why a lot of governments are now talking about this. But I think even as businesses, we have to be respectful of that, understand that some of our people are going to go through that pain, and how are we supporting them, either in helping them retrain, helping them recraft their job realities, or help them transition, right? Businesses have to be playing that role as part of society. Otherwise, you know,
we have to bring the whole society up. But, this human productivity just keeps increasing. So, Balaji, question for you. When the internet first came out, I'm talking of 97, 98, when we started building the first e-commerce sites, you remember that we had to build the user management, we had to build session management, we had to, and then WebSphere and all these WebLogic and all these people came in and they automated all of it. So previously we needed, any e-commerce site needed a team of 100 people to do basic, and then it became like that. Did we lose jobs? What happened?
So let's take a very, very unemotional view of it. Okay. Any technology, whenever it came in, it only managed to automate a certain task. Okay. The occupation or the role that a person was performing never got changed. It's completely now left in the hands of that individual. If he or she saw himself in that role only as that executor or the actor of that task, obviously you will be replaced. Okay, but if you were to be able to see yourself as part of an occupation, take it farming, take it painting, take it something, where you use the various tools to be able to make yourself more productive, more effective, then I think those people will absolutely flourish. They would more eagerly grasp the capabilities available through AI or whatever else is going to come. But if I'm a guy who's only able to translate from language A to language B, and I didn't bother to do anything more, trust me, those kind of jobs will be taken away, simply because nobody wants to go through a phase where, like, I don't know what will be the quality of the output. I don't know whether this person is going to come in or not. I don't know whether the quality will be as per the expectation. How long is it going to take? This gives you a more predictable way of doing things. So anything which is repetitive, which is something which somebody has done without really applying his mind time and again, will be the ones which will quickly go away. But occupations will not be touched.
Operations will not be touched. I'm a huge, optimist, obviously, all of us. So I'll give a completely different example. I'll give a completely different example. And let's talk about the fact that when video first came, when cinema first came, the whole thought must have been that, hey, in cinema, because there was only staged theater at that time, saying that, hey, if the stage theater is taken over on film, then all the actors will lose their jobs. Because after all, people come to see their acting. And if they're able to see their acting in a cinema, chances are today, cinema came, let's say, 150 years back, approximately less than that. But suppose we can say, I think we can say with, I don't have the data, but we can say with substantial confidence that the number of people doing stage theater today is more than the number of the people doing stage theater before cinema came up. Yes. Similarly, Sam Altman says that AI will not replace humans, but humans using AI will replace humans. I can change the word AI with every single technological thing that came. Starting with wheelbarrows will not replace laborers, but laborers using wheelbarrows will replace laborers.
Yep. That will be the exact case in this one also.
That's exactly the case.
So a software programmer who knows how to use ChatGPT to be able to create better code, faster code, will replace another software developer who refuses to use it or does not learn how to use it. Absolutely. Those will be the patterns we would see.
Absolutely, and I think so. So we agree that we should not worry about job losses too much, but it will be dramatic. Having said that, there's another statistics that we read that people are using large language models to improve emails, improve documents, etc. There was some statistics that it is improving the capability of the less capable people. But Megha, you did some research on that.
Yeah, I mean, this is actually, it's been hard to get trustworthy data on this, right? Because it's all moving so fast and sort of suddenly in the last half a year or almost, things have dramatically changed. And so, one of these very, very often quoted studies is a National Bureau of Economics in Massachusetts, economic research, and they have done a generative AI at work study, which is very interesting. And I'll just pull up a little bit of a chart because I'm obviously a visual learner, so I like charts. And I'll just explain that a little bit. So really, if you look at this, this was done in a call center, about 5,000 customer care agents, and some part of them was given an AI tool that helps them answer customer queries. The other sort of cohort was obviously the placebo group, so given no tools at all. And you'll see the purple charts, how in terms of resolutions per hour, customer satisfaction, chats per hour, etc., everything, obviously productivity went up. And then this actually talks about the agent skill and the level of productivity change depending on the skill of the agent. And the quartile 5 here, I'll just blow it up so that everybody can see it. Quartile 5 is the highest skilled employee, right? These are the ones who are really, really good. And quartile 1 obviously is the opposite. And the productivity change across most of the factors, right? Chats per hour, resolution rate, customer satisfaction was the highest for the lowest productivity group, or the lowest quartile group. And so, I mean, essentially what this study was saying, and people can pull it out, I mean, we can put a link to the study later on in this chat, is that the lowest quartile improved productivity rate at 35% higher than the highest quartile. So it almost led to a little bit of a democratization of experience levels, right? So even new skilled, unskilled agents were able to do their work faster and better. But there was not that much change in the performance of the already skilled, highly skilled agents, because they were obviously already doing a good job. So there's a natural limitation to what AI is going to get to, because obviously the AI is learning from the good guys and trying to give that skill to the sort of less experienced or less productive employees. But you'll almost sort of see that productivity change equalize, and everybody will be sort of more productive at the
More productive. So on a lighter note, Megha, a team member of yours recently asked you for some vacation. Yeah, you want to share that?
Yeah. So no, this is a lighter one. Actually, obviously people will write an email these days. We are fully work from anywhere, right? Fully digital, like we say. And so people will write a 1-line or a 2-line. I have a marriage. I won't be available on Friday or whatever it is, right? Some typically a 2-line email will come, and I'm like, yeah, fine, whatever. Okay. Suddenly I got like a 3-paragraph long email, right? I would like to inform you that because of some unexpected urgency at my home, which was not in my control, etc. So there's a context, and then there is like an ask in the middle paragraph, and then there is like a reinforcement of the context in the third paragraph. Very structured, right? And immediately I knew. So I wrote back saying, it's fine, right? Go ahead. But, I like that you're using ChatGPT to write your leave emails now. So people are starting to use it, right? For day-to-day things, simple things that they would normally just write 2-line emails for. So that's interesting.
So moving it back again. So we are meeting with lots of very senior people in multiple organizations. And you mentioned earlier that suddenly it has become a board issue. What conversation are we seeing at the CIO level, digital head level, at the business unit head level, that they are facing from the board in terms of, hey, do something, do something? What are we hearing? What are we hearing, Balaji?
There is a clear ask to say that, look, let's bring it into mainstream use. Okay. I think most organizations have been doing something or the other for a few years now within their labs, just to be able to understand, just to be able to figure out what are the possible use cases. But now I think there is a belief, look, worldwide, there is an active adoption. if so many people have been able to adopt and get benefited by it, absolutely there is something in it for us. So I think the board is asking, why aren't we doing something about it? And that's clearly reaching the ears of every team member over there. And they have a clear need to be able to discover those kind of cases, which will be absolutely relevant for them. For which obviously they are looking at their neighbors and wondering, saying that, look, here is another person in my same industry with a similar product mix. Why are they able to use it? Why am I not able to use it? But it's also posing a different question, which is what will be really relevant for me? Yes, there are tons of such use cases out there, but which are the ones which are most appropriate for me? Which are the ones which I can take up and make a meaningful impact? And which are the ones that I should pick to make investments in? I think that's the question which is clearly on top of the mind of the CIO, the digital officer, and others. And they're beginning to realize that perhaps now the maturity of the data should lend itself to be able to do some serious work with it and get benefits out of it. That's clearly the pattern we are seeing across the industry. It's not peculiar to one industry or the other, but you could see this pattern and trends across the industries.
I think the trends across the industry is more important than the trends within an industry. I'll give some commentary, and Megha, I would love to get your inputs. So Balaji, based on what you said, there are two things that boards and companies are trying to figure out what's going on in the world, and then trying to figure out what do I need to do internally.
Yep.
My hypothesis is that what is going on in the world, just take it. I shouldn't say hypothesis, a little bit of a recommendation maybe. What's going on in the world, just take it, saying lots is going on, and whatever you can do can be done. But put more focus in understanding what you need to do internally. So I'll pick another question that we have is in understanding the users to customize services for them. So the question is, what do I do with AI in understanding the users to customize services for them? So my response here, and Megha, I would love to get your commentary on, my response is break it into two. In understanding the users, full stop, to customize services for them. Try to understand the users. And every company, and again, based on our experience, every company is different. There could be two FMCG companies, exactly the same, selling products, but when you go inside the company, the way they do stuff, the way their technology is completely different. What one company does, let's take customer loyalty. It seems like customer loyalty here, customer loyalty there. But go to two companies, the challenges that they face and what they need to do with the systems that they have, the legacies that they have, the acquisitions that they have made, is totally different from a technology standpoint. So in understanding the users, just focus on that, understanding the users. Try to understand your users. And then once we try to understand users, try to parse where judgment is involved and where you thought things can't be automated. And then we have this, what we are seeing, I think, is we are going company after company. They're saying, hey, our top has found 40 possible use cases, or 70 possible use cases. That's not very difficult. But now what do I do? How do I go forward? What are we seeing people doing, Megha?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So the boards obviously looked at this, and then as like boards will tend to do, they got someone in to tell them what would be the 20, 30, 40, 50, whatever use cases that could be possible candidates for their company, right? And typically this is an outside-in study. You look at what is happening in the industry, you look at what is happening in the broader sort of market, the geography, whatever, and you come up with some hypothetical list of use cases, and you validate it against a little bit of a conversation internally, and you're done, right? But there's so much that has to happen after that, because each of those use cases in themselves, between the actual one-line use case and the actual business requirements document, there is a long list of needs that have to be met. You have to go meet the different business owners, understand what are the challenges today, understand how does this use case actually break down into the specific steps that need to happen, where does the data exist, how clean is the data, how dirty is it, what are the challenges, are there different definitional challenges in the data. So you have to work through almost an entire business requirements process to be able to actually get to a document that can be handed over to a technology team. And then, of course, you can't do that 60 times, right? You may have a list of 60 use cases, but it's impossible to do this in parallel for 60 things. So you have to prioritize. So what should be the priority? and who should be prioritized as a business unit or as a business leader versus others who also want use cases, right? And so that in itself is a process. And so I think technology teams have to work through that entire thing. This is not something that they have done too often, right? Some technology teams are better at this than others, and some have had experience doing this, others have not. Many have not, to be very frank, because so far technology has been about what's the big bad product out there. There's 3 that can do CRM, there's 4 that can do ERP. Let's compare pros and cons, let's select one and implement it, right? That's really how this has happened. Today, it's really much more ground up, right? Even if you have the use case, what does it mean? Where is the model? What is the data? It's not an outside-in study, it's an inside-out process that has to be followed. And that's something that technology teams are also adjusting, right? In terms of ways of working, I think they need to
in terms of that and across industries. So Balaji, question for you. We have lots of questions on saying, hey, I'm in credit lending, I'm in the petrol business, I am in sales and marketing, I am in retail. What should I do with AI? What's our one-line recommendation for saying what should they do in AI?
First and foremost, my humble suggestion to all of them will be saying that do not take a technology first approach in this, okay? Just because somebody is out there broadcasting saying that, look, this is the greatest AI tool, please don't bring it in and say that, look, this is going to solve all the problem. I think it's very important to work very close with the business, understand who the customers are, what do they really want, how we can serve them differently and better. Keep that as the focal point and then look backwards saying that everything that I'm doing today within my organization, in order to be able to serve this customer, how can I do it differently? With that perspective, look at saying where AI can come in and make a difference. To the same question that you had last time, I think what is sitting in the shadow today is when most organizations want to do that AI bit, they are realizing that there is still so much of homework remaining to be done within the organization. I haven't digitalized enough. I haven't integrated enough. I still have islands of data. I haven't cleaned my data enough. All of these are an absolute must before you can really reach that level of saying that I can truly put on AI. But the opportunity is there. Along with all of these things, AI will be an enabler for you to be able to go out there and make a difference to your customers, the way you engage with them. So our recommendation is work closely with the business, understand what the customer's needs are, how they can be served differently. With that understanding, look at which are those technologies which can be most effectively used, how to get the best value out of those investments, work with the right partners to be able to build the solutions right. None of these solutions are fit once and it's going to work forever. Given the needs are going to evolve, the nature of data is going to evolve, these solutions will continue to evolve. So find a partner who is going to be able to help you evolve these solutions. Make sure that you are realizing the best benefits out of the investments in technology. That will be our recommendation to them.
So with that, Balaji, I'll pick up a very deep technical question. And we have a lot of questions on how can I use AI in budgeting and planning, in analysis, et cetera. Now, we are talking of large language models, and we have talked a lot about it. And all of us, I think pretty much everybody who joined this webinar would have used OpenAI. We are seeing some interesting possibilities. It's not mainstream as yet. Interesting possibilities of large language model success in structured data. And that, I think, will change budgeting and planning, will change MIS management. Where do you think it's going? And it hasn't come out as yet, but where do you think it's going?
I think it gives you the ability now to be able to get more intelligence out of your data with much lesser effort than what it used to take earlier. That's my belief. I'll tell you why. To be able to achieve something similar, you first had to create a new data warehouse, create a unified schema, be able to bring all the data together before you are able to make a query and be able to get that insight. I think today with the capabilities that it's getting built along these large language models, including the structured data, it has started acquiring the capability to understand your schema, because of which all of the work you had to do to be able to unify them doesn't have to be done. You could straight away start using it in the data in the form that it is available in. be able to run these kind of queries and be able to get insights into the data, which means your ability to make business decisions with the available data, and for people to be able to use data in the form that it doesn't just goes up by a factor. I think that's where it is going to create a significant impact. And it's still early days, but I think there are clear signs that this technology can certainly help get over there.
So will I be able to say that which office did I have the largest sale of this product in the month of March?
You will, without having to do the prior homework that you had to do earlier to bring all that data together, because
It will
the schema is
fundamentally,
understood.
so we had, 20 years ago, we started creating data warehouses, data marts, then we went into data lake, then we went into, so that whole area can fundamentally change because, and also bring in structured and unstructured data, which has really not happened in the enterprise. Inside the enterprise, we have not managed to, we are talking of structured and unstructured data, but we have not managed to create reporting out of it in a way that is useful. Do we feel that 1 or 2 years, there will be dramatic changes to this area?
Yes. Going across functions, going across departments, going across different owners of the data becomes much easier without having to tread on others' toes, without having to create the friction of who takes the ownership of integrating them. I think this is able to flow through these things much more easily. Again, it's a belief, but the early signs are there.
Megha.
So I have a point of view, right? I mean, thinking of what question to ask is also, it uses brain power, right? And the way I've seen a lot of business leaders use business reporting is also, they want to do that thinking once, they don't want to do that thinking every single day, right? They don't want to think of which questions to ask on a daily basis. And so I don't think business reporting will go away. I think reports will be generated the way they have been done. And people will have MISs that deliver sort of daily reports, weekly reports, whatever. I think what will change is in the ability of business leaders to drill down themselves very quickly on, okay, tell me why this trend is going the way it is. And a LLM based tool can actually give you that answer instead of an analyst in your team doing it. Or like what Balaji said earlier, the analyst will be able to use the LLM tool to deliver that answer within 2 hours instead of 2 days that would have taken earlier, right? I think that's where the change will happen.
Yep.
Hey, Vivek, you raised your hand. Vivek, we'll just unmute you. And why don't you just come in and ask the question directly here? Vivek, as soon as you're unmuted, you just let us know, and you can come on video also if you want.
Yeah, I would like to ask.
Yeah, we can hear you, Vivek. Go ahead.
Yeah, I would like to ask how AI can be used when it comes to strategy building. Some days back, 4-5 days back, I was hearing another discussion on how McKinsey and people in Bain Capital were using AI. So they have, they study markets, they study, events mutually exclusive, all those events they study while doing a market research. So how can AI help in developing sort of an exploratory market research? Usually companies, hire big other consultancy firms. So do we have any solutions in AI which can be explored before going in for with the bigger consultants?
Vivek, excellent question. And actually, we were just talking about it last night, and that's why Megha is smiling. And we've all worked with the big fives, and they do excellent work, and they have teams of people. As soon as you work with a big five, suddenly you'll get phenomenal market research of various things. And we had an experience. Megha, you want to just share that?
Yeah, before just I want to, so one of the things that has been missing, I mean, I have spent my time in corporate strategy, right? All of my career pretty much either as a management consultant or as a corporate strategist inside organizations. So I'm familiar with this issue. And I think one of the things that has always been missing in the space of strategy, unlike sort of ERM that started with as a finance and supply chain tool, CRM that became like a marketing and sales tool, and so many tools exist for different departments, strategy has never had a tool, right? They have never had because it is by definition an ambiguous function, right? There's the level of things you have to do is very vast. There's no defined processes, etc. With AI, you can actually imagine a strategy team tool, right? Where you will have a capability to do rapid market landscaping, what Vivek, you are sort of thinking of. You can also hack it today, right? I mean, with a good enough structured query to ChatGPT, you could almost create something straight off even today. But somebody could actually put a tool together that actually does this in a much more visually pleasing and robust way, with a little bit of modeling. And then you could build a lot of other things around it. So there's almost now the capability to have, I think, a strategy tool that can help strategy functions be more productive and automated.
I think that's a
Used to
game
ask myself,
changer. It's a game
yeah,
changer.
that will be for strategy teams across the world. I think this would be like nirvana, right? I mean, I used to ask myself, did anything change in 10 years of working in strategy from the day I started to the day I left sort of that kind of a career? What changed in the way I actually do work, right? Or my teams do work? And not much had changed in 10 years. Now there's a chance it can change.
So with that, let me just bring up, we have 5 minutes left, to bring up a very nebulous, a very complex topic, but I'll try to close it quickly, okay? There are lots of questions, and I didn't expect it. There are lots of questions that we got on how can AI help me become a better human being? It's the number of questions we got on that is quite surprising. There are a lot of questions we got on how can AI help me become a better leader? Okay. And I have a point of view on that, but Balaji, Samit, 30 seconds on this.
Getting clear direction on what is right, what is wrong. So certain actions could possibly be in the gray area, borderline of what is right versus wrong. I think AI tools can give you some good suggestions on how to stay right. So that's how I see how you could turn a better individual.
Megha?
Yeah, I think it, to Balaji's point, right? I mean, it allows you to get deeper into decision making, right? A lot of decisions today still are gut feel, right? You look at some data, you want to ask some detailed questions, but you don't have the time. Maybe you don't have the team members who can support you in answering those questions. So you kind of play with your gut. And that's been a part of business. And now I think you can actually drill down very, very quickly, and it improves your ability to think through your decisions far better than it was, I think. I want to bring in a little bit more. I don't know, Samit's on this and he has a point of view, but I will just try to relay that. I think in the space of people management and HR, what we call traditionally, right? AI can bring powerful new advantages, because earlier you required an army of HR business partners to be able to stay in touch with all of your people, make sure they are doing well, run surveys. All of that can be replaced now, or at least it can be augmented now with AI tools that can actually touch base with your people, ask if there are any red flags, identify any potential areas of concern, and flow that upwards into the organization, right? So organizations should absolutely think of how AI can be used to improve employee well-being and productivity inside the organization. And I think there's a host of tools that are possible now. Even with smaller organizations, they can look at those things.
Huge area. And I'll close this topic and then I'll start winding down by saying that there are a number of people that I have met, and all of us have been talking to lots of people who are using AI as a sort of a therapist for themselves. And the results are not bad. I don't want to make any comment on that, but the fact is that what we need to do to be a better human being, to a better person, is fairly is mostly an issue of seeing a mirror and looking at back to us. So we have about 2 minutes left. I'm going to just get into a little bit of a quick rapid fire, discussion. So quickly, is AI going to be good for business, or is going to be disruptive for business? People are saying AI is like a nuclear bomb. AI is like the worst thing that can happen to humanity. But overall for business, good for business, bad for business. Balaji?
With selfish interests, absolutely yes. Good.
Megha?
No, I really believe it will be in the long term good for business.
I think it will be phenomenal. So with that, now all of us here make money on making businesses improve their technology. Will it be good for service providers, or will it be, we are talking about AI taking away all coding work. And we are seeing that, the translation of, let's say, a COBOL program to is just happening with AI. So will it take away jobs in the service provider industry? and will it be fundamentally change the companies? What is happening?
It better not take away the job. It certainly can create better jobs. No, it can certainly create more jobs and better jobs. People can truly believe that, hey, look, I had an enjoyable time at work, rather than feeling that, look, I tend to do the same thing. I'm mentally numb about it. They can use the tools and feel much more satisfied with the work, and ample opportunities to create much more varieties of employment. That's my fundamental belief.
Fantastic.
I think it will
Megha?
fundamentally change the way organizations, especially IT services organizations, especially Indian IT services organizations, see their growth, right? Growth is for so many decades has been how many bodies did we put in how many companies, right? And I think that will fundamentally change. They have to rethink how do they look at growth, how do they think of revenue, right? It's not dollars per person, but some other new RPP will sort of, I think, disappear.
And it's about understanding the business process. And going back to, we are in the anomaly detection. We have to help organization understand what that anomaly is, as opposed to trying to implement it. We have 30 seconds left. If there is one job category that you think will be affected more than anybody else, what is it, Balaji?
Anything which is repetitive, manual, without having to apply the thinking, those would be the ready candidates to be eliminated.
Megha?
Those exist across industries, across functions.
Megha?
I think it will impact lower end service industry jobs more than any other category. Because robotics is one step behind AI model right now. So manufacturing jobs are still, I don't think today in danger, but the lower end of service sector jobs definitely will go through a transition.
I don't know if this was of use to the people who attended the webinar. Hopefully people will see it later, but I thoroughly enjoyed chatting with both of you. I had a fantastic time. We are such fortunate people to be living in a time of such change. I look forward to the next 10, 20 years. I look forward to the changes happening. I look forward to people improving their productivity, look forward to the world becoming a better and a better place with AI. We are truly at the dawn of a new, couple of decades. Welcome to this industry. Welcome to the future, and thank you so much for joining. And thank you, Balaji. Thank you, Megha. I had an awesome conversation. Thanks a lot, everyone.
Thank you, Anjan.
Thanks, everyone.
Nice coordination and nice moderation.
Thank you, Anjan.
Thank you to the
Balaji.
audience. Thank you to the
Megha.
audience.
Thanks, Vandana. Thank you to everybody else.
Bye-bye.
We have one question, Anjan, coming from Seema, which we have missed. She says, thanks for the webinar. Since AI needs a lot of data and you're mentioning the focus on data which is available with you, how will startups implement AI as they don't have enough data?
Simple thing, call us. But the fact is that don't worry about AI. Worry about what you need to do. So we are working with a startup which is doing a very, very innovative, completely startup, innovative based. Startups make products and sell to customers. They are using AI to make a product in real time based on the customer preferences. Total change. So they don't have the data, but they get the data in situ. And we've just rolled out a big thing last week. So don't worry about what data you have, what you don't have. Worry about what you want to do, what you want to excel in. Rest, we'll figure it out. Great question. Great questions. Hey, thank you very much, everybody. I know we are on time. We are 2 minutes over time, so I'll shut and we'll meet again. Thank you for your coming, and we will meet again very soon. See you guys.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Thank you so much.